Well, if you go to the formula chart, you can look down, and on the infinite geometric series, it has a bunch of things going on, but the important thing is that you see the fraction, which says that a sub 1 over 1 minus r. That's how you find the sum. As long as your r, it says on there, cannot equal 1. The truth is, it's got to be less than 1 for this to work. So if it's geometric, we know right away that we can find our r by taking any term and dividing it by the previous term. So I'm going to take just the very first term, which is this one here, and divide it, or have this one divided by this one. So we'll have 3/4 divided by negative 9/8. Now luckily we can just type that in the calculator as long as I make my fractions correct. So I'll do control divide of 3/4. Now I need to select the whole thing. Oops, if you go shift, there you go, select the whole thing. And now I'm going to divide that by negative 9/8. So let me get this down so I can see it a little bit easier, what's happened here. Down here, this needs to be divided by negative 9/8. Now, I want to make sure I did this correctly. It says it's negative 2/3. And to make sure I do this correctly, I'm going to go through the algebra. The way the algebra works is if you're dividing a fraction by another fraction, you take the first fraction and you end up multiplying it times the reciprocal of this fraction, which this will coincidentally be easier. We can see that 3 would go into 9 3 times, and 4 would go into 8 twice. We multiply across, and I'm getting 2 over negative 3 as well. So that's our rate. That is our r. It did in fact work. And so we would plug in over here. A1 is negative 9/8. And we would divide this by 1 minus a negative 2/3, which basically is positive 2/3. Now you could again type that in the calculator. You know what? We'll go ahead and do that. Now I'll do the algebra, then we'll check in the calculator just to make sure. And so this is going to be equal to negative 9/8 over, this would be 3/3 plus 2/3, which is 5/3. And so if I wanted to solve that, again, I would do the same thing, negative 9/8, and I would multiply it. I need to take the reciprocal over 3/5. So it looks like we would get negative 27/40. Now let's go to the calculator and see if it gives us the same thing. We're going to take the negative 9/8. So I have a fraction, and the top part is another fraction, negative 9/8, and that's going to be subtracted by 1 minus, or divided by rather, it was negative 2/3 for our r. And it is negative 27/40 like we had. Hit the wrong button there. If I hit Control Enter, it gives me a decimal negative 0.675. So that would be our value. Negative 0.675. That would be our sum here. And so once we bubble this in, we'll have our answer. Now, one more way you could do it if you don't like any of this is you could use the calculator. And we've talked about with the calculator, anytime you need to find a sum, you can use sigma notation. The thing is, if it's infinite, you're just going to type in 100 to the calculator up top. So that's the part that you just got to remember. And then you'll type in the formula. Now, remember that if this is geometric, you're going to have A1, which is negative 9/8, times the r, which we found is negative 2/3, to the power of n minus 1. When you type that in the calculator and press enter, it should give us the same thing. Let's see. So I want to go to the button next to 9, hit sigma, and now I type in n equals 1, and I'm going to do this 100 times, which are representing infinity, and this is going to be the fraction of negative 9/8 times the if you remember the rate, which was negative 2/3 to the power of n minus 1. And it gives me a crazy answer like that if you hit Control Enter. Oops. Why did it not change it to a decimal? Let's try this again. Control Enter. There we go. Yep, it does work. It gives us the same value.